We are in the BI studio and I'm speaking with Alec Sharp, internationally acclaimed expert on data modeling. Alec, you had a session during our conference earlier this year about concept modeling, which you called an angst-free framework for engaging your executives. Yes. But why would organizations need to involve senior executives in data modeling?
Well, there are different answers to that question. First of all, let me point out that many people believe you cannot involve senior executives, C-level executives, in data modeling or concept modeling, but I have had many experiences over the years where senior executives were enthusiastic participants in data modeling or concept modeling. And that's because we made it relevant. So why would a senior executive care about data modeling? Well, because data modeling is the most fundamental thing you can do to achieve data quality. And if you don't have data quality, the metrics you use to guide your business are probably wrong. So that was historically the avenue that or the path that I took in dealing with senior executives, was the quality of the metrics depended on the data, and the data depended on things like shared definitions, shared understanding. What do we mean by a customer or a sale? Now, in recent years, we say that data is the new oil or data is the new gold. Organizations are increasingly data-driven. And again, data modeling or concept modeling is fundamental to ensuring the quality of the data that we use to guide our organizations. And I'll say more about that later in our interview.
Okay. And how did you convince them to get involved in data modeling?
Well, now that's another good opening for me. You use the word convince. I made a decision as a consultant probably 30 years ago to never use the word convince in my thinking. I would never try and convince executives of something. And I also eliminated the word sell. I would never try to sell something to executives because senior executives have too many people trying to convince them to do something or sell them something. So I prefer to try to engage their interest. And in one recent case, actually the case study that we look at in this connection, in this presentation on the angst-free approach to engaging your executives, an executive got very interested when I demonstrated that another financial institution was completely unable to determine how many customers they had, because everybody had a different idea of what was a customer. So in this organization, a credit union, which is defined as a member-owned bank, this executive realized, we don't really know what a member is, so we don't know how many members we have. And in another organization several years ago, I was doing a presentation for the senior leadership team, and I began by asking, what would you think if I told you that all of the metrics that you use to drive your organization are either wrong or at best misleading? And they said, tell us more. And then I went on to demonstrate that their core metrics, their KPIs, their key performance indicators, were deeply flawed because of problems in the data that those KPIs were based on. So I try and demonstrate that there is a problem or an issue or a better way, rather than trying to convince them there is something wrong.
Yeah. And in these conceptual modeling sessions that you do, How do you determine the level of detail that you want to address?
Well, one of my definitions of a conceptual model or a concept model is that everything, or whatever you want to call it, you might call it a thing, an entity, a business object, a class, but everything is a term that business people use on a daily basis. So it isn't some incredibly granular thing like one of my favorite examples, the special tax rate variation comment type, incredibly granular data. Instead, like at the financial institution, we wanted to talk about a member, a customer, a partner, an account, a service, a loan, a payment. So the concept model, when I do concept modeling, it always begins with terminology. I have discussions with various business people. I listen to the terms they are using, and then I use those terms that I've gathered to help them build the concept model by starting with which of these terms are things that you talk about on a daily basis. Okay. And there's more to it than that, but it's really all about language.
Okay. But following up on that, how do you validate these concept models?
Well, by playing it back. One of the very simple techniques that I use is I walk through a concept model and I do it without using any data modeling terms. If you heard me playing a concept model back to a business group or a group of executives, you would not have any idea I was addressing a data model, because you might hear me say, well, our organization has a complex structure made up of various organizational units, and in these organizational units are positions into which we can assign a worker, and when one of those positions becomes vacant, then we create a requisition, and that requisition may lead to a posting, and so on. So I'm describing the business back to the business people without using any data modeling terms. And I have often had people say, wow, that is the clearest description I have ever heard of our business, because a really good concept model focuses entirely on what are the things we care about, with no reference to who interacts with them or how are they supported technically. This pure view of what are the things or the business objects or the entities that we care about, that can be quite liberating for a business.
Well, you've been teaching data modeling for many years now, all over the world. With all your experience in data modeling throughout these years, do you think there's enough focus on this discipline? And if so, why or why not?
Well, that is a very timely question, Werner, because 5 years ago, I would have said, no, there's not enough focus. But there has been this massive change over the last 5 years. And groups or disciplines that would have said 5 years ago, no, we don't care about data modeling. We do not care about your entity relationship modeling. You know, that's old school. That's paralysis by analysis. Now, all of those people are showing up in our business-oriented data modeling classes. So the attendees in our classes are now data scientists, people involved in predictive analytics, people implementing data lake, data mesh, data fabric, big data, Internet of Things. All these, what has happened is there has been this almost like an awakening, and people realize, Well, let me give you an example. One of the world's largest technology companies asked me to build a data modeling for data scientists course. And my first thought was, I don't think many data scientists care about data modeling. But they said, what we are finding is that our data scientists have brilliant algorithms, but they don't really understand why customer means something different in sales compared to what customer means in marketing, compared to what customer means in operations or in logistics. So there's this awareness, and it's, well, as you know, it's just generating a lot of demand for the workshops we offer. It has really surprised me in the last maybe 5 or 6 years, this global resurgence of interest in data modeling, or whatever you call it, concept modeling, business object modeling. People realize it is a necessity. It is the foundation for any conversation about business.
Which is good for the both of us. Okay, well, thank you very much, Alec, for the interview.